The message hit my screen at 9:17 p.m., and I remember the exact time because my whole body went cold. Unknown number, no profile photo, no name, just one sentence. You don't know who you married. I laughed. This sharp, fake sound, because that's what you do when something terrifying tries to walk into your life like it belongs there. I typed back with my thumbs shaking, "Who is this?" No reply. And that's when I realized the sound in the house wasn't the TV. It was Noah's footsteps above me, slow and careful, moving across the second floor like he was listening, like he knew I'd gotten it. I stared at the staircase, heart pounding, and thought, okay, maybe it's a prank. But then my phone buzzed again. Another message, "Check the house. He hid it where you'd never look." And from upstairs my husband called my name. Soft, almost affectionate, "Maya." That was the moment I understood something I couldn't unknow. Whatever was happening had already started, and I was late to my own story. Earlier that evening, everything had been normal. I was making pasta, the smoke detector screaming like it always did when I browned garlic. Noah was in the living room, half watching a game, half scrolling on his phone like he was answering work messages. We lived in Maplewood Heights, one of those clean, quiet suburbs outside a modern American city, where people mow lawns like it's a religion. I worked at an elementary school. Noah said he managed projects for a construction company. We were not glamorous, we were just stable, and after my last relationship imploded, stable felt like winning the lottery. Noah never yelled. He remembered the tiny things. My favorite tea, the way I hated driving in the rain, how I flinched when men slammed doors. He made me believe that gentleness could be real. So when I saw the message, my first instinct was to protect that gentleness, to pretend it couldn't be touched. But the next morning, the message was still there. I stared at it while my coffee cooled, and I noticed something small, so small it shouldn't have mattered. In the ceramic key bowl by the front door, Noah's usual ring was there. House key, car key, but not the other one. The small brass key he kept separate, like it didn't belong to us. Months ago, I'd asked about it. He'd smiled and said, "Old storage unit, I keep forgetting to cancel it." I'd rolled my eyes, called him cheap, kissed him, moved on because I thought I knew. I texted him anyway, "Do you still have that storage unit?" His reply came instantly, "Yeah." Why too fast? Like he'd been waiting. I typed, "Got a weird spam text?" Freaked me out. A pause. Then, "Ignore it. People are sick. Want me to come home early?" He'd never offered that for anything. Not even when my car got a flat tire. My stomach tightened. I wrote, "No, I'm fine. See you tonight." He sent a heart, and I stared at the heart like it was a warning sign shaped like love. And then, like the universe wanted to make sure I didn't look away, my neighbor, Mrs. Dorsey, caught me at the mailbox. She was the kind of older woman who knew what time every car left, what time every dog barked, and who was arguing behind closed blinds. "Morning, Maya," she said. "Morning." Her gaze slid past me to my driveway. "Your husband left early again," she said. "He had a meeting." She narrowed her eyes slightly, and added that she saw him meet a man last week in the driveway. Handed him something. My chest went tight. "What kind of man?" I asked. "Young. Hood up." Didn't smile. She said, paused, then added, "Maybe it's nothing, but you seem like a nice girl." Nice girl. Those words sounded like a eulogy. I walked back inside with the mail shaking in my hand, trying to convince myself this was just paranoia. But paranoia doesn't make your skin prickle. Truth does. That afternoon I found it by accident. I was putting away laundry in our bedroom closet, nudging Noah's boots into a neat row like I always did, and behind the boots my hand hit something hard, metal. A black lockbox, flat and sleek, like it belonged in a spy movie, not behind winter shoes. It wasn't dusty, it wasn't forgotten, it felt used. I sat on the edge of the bed holding it like it might vibrate. Keypad on top, no keyhole. I tried. Noah's birthday. Denied. Our anniversary. Denied. Luna's adoption date. Denied. My fingers trembled. I almost put it back. Then the text flashed in my mind again. "You don't know who you married." I went downstairs, dumped the junk drawer onto the counter. Batteries, tape, Random receipts, old gift cards, keys, so many keys. I found the small brass one, not for the lockbox, wrong shape, but it was proof of something separate, something he kept, something I'd accepted without question. I grabbed my coat and left before I could talk myself out of it, because the truth about people is this: you don't go looking when you're calm. You go looking when something inside you stops believing the story you've been living. The storage facility sat behind a strip mall and a tire shop. The office smelled like old carpet and burnt coffee. A bored clerk looked up when I stepped in. "I think my husband rents a unit here," I said, forcing a smile. "He's at work. I just need to grab something for him." "Name," I gave Noah's. He typed, frowned. "No unit under that." My stomach dropped. "Maybe under a different name," I said. "He's had it forever." The clerk leaned back. "Can't give info without ID that matches the lease." I nodded like I understood. Then I turned and froze. Noah's truck was parked along the far fence, partly hidden behind a row of units. My breath stalled. This couldn't be happening. He'd told me he was at work. I moved like I was underwater, slipping behind stacked pallets near the fence. And I watched. Noah walked into view, shoulders tense, scanning the area. A hooded man approached. They didn't greet like friends. They spoke close and quick. Noah handed him something small, a cheap black phone, a burner. The hooded man handed Noah a manila folder. Then the hooded man got into Noah's truck, into the driver's seat, and drove away. My mind couldn't process that fast enough. Noah stayed behind, opened a unit, stepped inside, then came out alone. He locked it and walked toward the office like this was another errand on a Tuesday. I stumbled back to my car, hands shaking so hard I couldn't get the key into the ignition. I should have gone home. I should have blocked the number. I should have told myself I was imagining it. Instead, I followed him, because once you see the crack, you can't pretend the glass is whole. Noah drove toward the city, not toward any construction site I'd ever heard him mention. He parked outside a small brick building with a faded sign, Larkin and Company. Private investigations. My throat went dry. Private investigations. That explained the way he noticed exits, the way he sat facing doors in restaurants, the way he always kept his phone face down. I'd thought it was just a habit. Now it felt like training. I waited in my car, hands clenched on the steering wheel. Then I went inside, because fear was already eating me alive. At least curiosity would give me something to chew back. The office smelled like paper and cheap cologne. A woman at the desk stopped typing when I said Noah's name. Last name. I gave it. Her eyes flickered. Just a fraction. "Wait here." She disappeared down a hallway. An older man emerged instead. Silver hair, calm eyes, a face that looked tired of other people's secrets. "You're Maya," he said. I felt exposed. "Who are you?" "Patrick Larkin." My eyes snapped to the wall behind the desk. Framed licenses. Case photos. Surveillance shots. And one of them was me, outside my school, holding a stack of papers, unaware. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like falling. "Why is there a photo of me?" I whispered. Patrick's gaze didn't soften. "Because you're part of a case." "My husband," my voice broke, "my husband did that." Patrick hesitated like he was deciding how much damage to do with truth. Then he said low, "Go home. Lock your doors. Don't confront him." "Why?" I demanded. "Because there are people watching you who don't care if you're innocent." My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. "Don't trust the man in your bed." Patrick's jaw tightened. "It's starting," he muttered. "What's starting?" I whispered. He looked at me like he wanted to save me. Then he said the one thing that felt like a warning and a confession at the same time. "He cares about you more than he ever should have." I backed away, trembling, and I left. But I didn't go home to hide. I went home to hunt. That night, Noah came home with grocery bags and peppermint gum and a smile that made me want to scream. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "Sight ran long." I watched his face. No hesitation, no guilt, just ease. We ate dinner. We talked about Luna. We laughed at some dumb show. And the entire time, I felt like I was sitting across from a stranger who had memorized my life. When he went upstairs to shower, I moved. His laptop was on the desk. Password. The same one he'd always used. That made me nauseous. Like he'd never imagined I'd look. I found a folder labeled Tax 2022. We filed jointly. But inside weren't tax returns. They were scans, IDs, passports, driver's licenses. Different names. Different states. Same face. My husband's face. One passport read Lucas Reed. Another ID read Noah Holt. Another read Aaron Blake. My hands shook so hard I had to grab the desk, my mind flashing to our courthouse wedding. The clerk asking if the information was accurate, Noah squeezing my hand, his voice steady as he said I do. I'd thought that steadiness was love. Now I knew it might have been practice. My phone buzzed. A text from Noah's real number asking if I was okay down there. I froze, then heard footsteps above me. I slammed the laptop shut, ran to the garage, clipped Luna's leash on with shaking fingers. I hit the garage door button. It rose halfway, then stopped. A piece of wood jammed into the track. My phone buzzed again, an unknown number warning me that he knows I know. The kitchen door creaked open. Noah's voice floated in, calm, as he said my name. He stepped into the garage, removed the wood like he'd done it before, then said I was leaving, not as a question but a decision. I demanded the truth. I told him I'd seen the IDs, the office, the photo of me. His jaw tightened when I said Patrick's name. He didn't deny it. Footsteps crunched on gravel outside. Noah's face shifted into fear as he called Patrick and said they were here. Patrick arrived fast, checking windows and cameras. Noah stood close, shielding me, and I hated that I wanted to let him. When Patrick told him to speak, Noah swallowed and said his name wasn't Noah, not legally, and that he'd been hired to get close to me. I asked by who. Patrick answered, my father. Everything aligned. The money, the unanswered calls, my mother's fear. I'd called it strict. Now it looked darker. Noah said it started as surveillance. I asked if our marriage was a cover. He flinched, then said it became real. He said my sister Katie had found out and tried to warn me. A car door shut outside. Patrick said there were 2 cars nearby. Noah grabbed my hand and said we had to leave. I pulled away, telling him I didn't know who he was. He said he was the man who fell in love with me by accident. We fled in Patrick's car. My phone buzzed with a voicemail. A woman's voice filled the car. My mother's, dead for 10 years. She said if I was hearing this, then he'd done it again. That he would claim he was protecting me, but he always chose himself. She told me to check the vent behind the hallway mirror for the key. We went back. Behind the mirror, taped inside the vent, was a small silver key. The lockbox upstairs opened. Inside were letters, photos, bank transfers, and one image that blurred my vision. A younger Noah beside another boy with the same eyes. Noah whispered that it was his brother Jonah. One letter warned that my father didn't just lie. He rewrote people. Another line froze me. Lucas Reed was not my enemy. Lucas was Noah's real name. At the bottom was a key ring labeled Unit 312, Maplewood Storage. Patrick said that was the archive. Luna barked. The camera feed showed 2 men on our porch. My phone rang. My father's voice said my name, softly. When I asked where Katie was, my sister apologized before he told me to come alone with what I'd taken, or she would disappear. Patrick whispered we couldn't trade evidence for her. I stared at the storage key and realized courage is just fear you keep moving through. I told my father I'd meet him. We drove toward the storage facility. Noah admitted the hooded man I'd seen was Jonah, his brother, taken and changed by my father. You don't know who you married. I realized it wasn't just about Noah, but everyone my father had rewritten, including me. The storage gate stood open. Jonah waited between the units. Then my father stepped out behind him, calm and smiling, telling me to come here. Noah whispered for me not to. My father said the key belonged to him. I looked at Noah, at Jonah, at my father. and understood this was never about good or bad, but choosing between two kinds of wrong. I opened the car door, pulled free when Noah grabbed my wrist, and stepped onto the pavement. I said quietly that I thought I knew who I married, and now I knew I never understood who I was born to. The key was heavy in my palm as I walked forward, done running from the people who set the trap.